It is your Classic Metal Show right here on theclassicmetalshow.com. That's brand new stuff from the House of Lords. That is the title track, Indestructible, from the album, of course, of the same name. And a guy who is seemingly indestructible after all this time, the vocal excellence himself, it's James Christian. James, how are you, man?
I'm very well, Chris. How about you?
Excellent, dude. Well, dude, I got to tell you, I am astounded at how good Indestructible is. And I'm not just saying that because you're on the phone. I honestly believe this is the best House of Lords record that has been put out. It is really, really amazing.
Wow, that's great. Thank you very much. I mean, we're getting some really great reviews on it, but it's really always nice to hear.
Sure.
After all the hard work that you do, you never know what people are going to think.
Sure. Well, I think what makes this one so appealing is that it certainly has the core elements that you've always brought to the project, but it really does kind of have like a lot of throwback elements into it. There's a lot of almost like, lush instrumentation building toward choruses, almost like 70s rock in places without sounding dated, which is what I think really makes it sound so good.
That's the hard part is trying to incorporate both of those, the heavier edge of House of Lords, which we've kind of evolved into, and still keeping the integrity of what we were known for in the earlier days, which was more keyboard-oriented.
Sure.
So I think the balance is really good. When you got a guitar player like Jimmy Bell, you got to have a guy like that out in front.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm curious, you brought him up, and I was going to get there. How difficult is it for him? It seems like he's, and this is, again, outside looking out, but looking in, but he seems like one of those guys that you almost have to pull back sometimes. Like he's always ready to just start shredding. Is that true?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's like ready, cocked and loaded most of the time, And I just mean that he's constantly with a guitar in his hand. I hardly ever see him on the road when doesn't have a guitar where he's practicing or doesn't use his little shred neck that he invented so he can play guitars even if he's sitting on an airplane. It's just a little piece of a neck. It's a pretty incredible thing. But as far as players go, he's probably one of the best I've ever worked with.
Sure.
Got it, for real.
Definitely. Now, James, certainly the band has a long history at this point, and the industry has changed. Everything is different. For you, what is it about House of Lords where you still have such creative energy for this project?
Well, when I started out in the business, so to speak, I always used to say I'm not in this for the money, because I loved it so much, and the money did come afterwards, with the success in the early days of House of Lords. That was an added bonus. But afterwards, when things fell off and the big paychecks and the big record deals weren't around, I was still doing the music for the same reason I did it in the beginning, and that's for the love of the music, because you certainly don't get rich on doing records these days.
Sure.
But for me, it's because I still have a lot of stuff going on that I want to write, things I want to try, and I just love the challenge. I think it really keeps me going.
Sure. Now, the industry, no secret, it has changed greatly, and especially even in the last 10 years. Yeah. For an artist like yourself that is, I'll say, a heritage artist, for lack of a better term, what is the value of a new studio album for you? Is it to give you something to tour with? Is there still a large enough fan base that actually purchases the records instead of stealing them? I mean,
well, I think the record company is dictating. Every time that I finish one record, they've got another option for me to do another. So they're doing well with it. Okay. And the record sales are very good for our market. It's enough so our budgets are pretty solid. And doing new records, yes, makes a difference for us, because when we tour, we can go out there and promote a new record and sell more records, and it builds a catalog up for royalties.
Sure.
Which is a wonderful thing too. They never go away once they start.
Right. Definitely. Well, James, no secret to anybody that knows anything about House of Lords. There's been 6,000 or 7,000 people through the band,
Yeah.
as it goes. But this is an interesting time for you because this year marks pretty much the 10th year anniversary of the current lineup being together.
That's right.
What is it about this lineup that was missing previously? Where you had so many lineup changes.
Well, the first early incarnation of A House of Lords was with Greg and Lanny and Chuck and Ken, and they were everyone had come from different bands, and they had their own ways of doing things. Mm-hmm. And we butted heads on a lot of things, but in the end, the music really did stand out, and I was happy with that. But what happened here was the band that I have now were House of Lords fans before they were band members.
Okay.
So they came into this knowing exactly what House of Lords was all about, and they loved the music. So when we started writing it, we all came from the same page. We all were looking for the same thing, and we were actually like childhood friends. So there is a history behind the members of the band now.
Sure. Has the creative process changed or adapted over the 10 years that this lineup has been together?
Well, the creative process is pretty much still the same, where Jimmy feeds me licks and chord patterns and sometimes complete ideas of a song, but mostly I'm going after that riff, that killer riff, that stands out. When I get that, then we start working on the tracks, and once the tracks are done, then the vocals get put together. And basically, that's been our process since we've started.
Okay.
There's no new ways of writing the songs that I know of. So that's the way we get it done.
Excellent. Now, James, listening to Indestructible, one thing that comes off, to anybody probably that listens to it is it's a bit more of a rocker than the last couple of records that you did. Not that the last 2-3 were not harder edge, but this one just has like a more punch to it. Was there something different this time than the past couple of releases, or is it just kind of the way that you guys wrote for this session?
Well, I think we've always wanted to lend the band to a heavier sound, but we had a fine line that we didn't want to cross, and that was alienating our fan base. We didn't want to be stuck in one place, so we tried a few different things on this record, which was a lot more high energy tracks, mm-hmm. and it seems to work really well along with the other songs that are that fall into the category of what we've always done. Now, if you go on a blog, you can read a lot of places, well, man, they don't sound like the same House of Lords. They sound like a different band with less keyboards and whatever. But then you got 20 people saying, I love it. So you can never please everyone. So the best thing to do is never go on blogs.
Right.
And never listen to anyone but what your true fan base wants to hear.
Sure.
So,
I'm curious you brought that up, and that brings up an interesting point. With the internet where, basically everybody can beat their chest and give their opinion,
yes.
does that make it harder to be an artist who's, out there in the public, or does it make it I guess what I'm asking is, does it make you almost isolate down to just a smaller core of people that actually get what you're trying to do?
Well, you can never try to please everyone. It's just impossible to actually do that. So you just got to write from your heart, and you have to believe in what you do. And if you do, like what we're talking now about Indestructible, there were some people that were saying, "Don't do this. Don't change the sound of the band too much." I don't think I did that. I just think I modernized it a little bit more and still kept the integrity of what we do. So really, you just can't. You can't listen to everyone.
Right.
You got to listen to the voice inside your own head.
Sure. Now let's talk a little bit about the record. I want to specifically isolate on two songs, one that is my favorite on the record and one that isn't, but is very, very different from anything you've done before. I'll start with that one.
Okay.
Not my favorite song on the record, I'll be honest and tell you that, but the song Ain't Suicidal, mm-hmm. very different from anything. Almost, I mean, the guitar line especially that comes in and in the middle, it fits the title, Ain't Suicidal. It's kind of a crazy feel to it. You know, it feels very real, like that came from some experience, not necessarily somebody in the band, but maybe somebody that you've encountered. Is that a real world song, or is...
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is. It's a real world song, and I wouldn't get into it too much, but you know, there are parts of it that reflect my thoughts during some illnesses that I had, and just thought to myself, oh my God, I really don't want to go through this. And at the same time, I kept thinking, you know, I'm not going to do anything to hurt myself.
Sure.
So I put it into a song, meaning ain't suicidal, the reaper shall lose, I'll have won. And meaning, you know, this is a positive thing. Things go bad and bad things happen, but you don't have to, you know, you don't have to cave into it.
Definitely.
So
definitely. And then the other song, which is my favorite song on the record, is the song Pillar of Salt. That is everything about that song is pretty much quintessential what you would expect from House of Lords. It's got the lush feel to it. It's got some great lyrics to it. You know, the building toward the chorus is very prominent. You know, how did that song come together, and what is that song about?
That was the last song written.
Okay.
And Jimmy was always saying, I've got this great riff. I've got this great little piece. You got to hear it. And by that time, I was already winding down on the record, thinking, okay, we've got it completed, and we've got to start working on the putting together the songs for the mix. Mm-hmm. So finally, he said, James, just take a listen. Just take a listen to this, what I put together. I said, okay, fine. So I play the track, and I said, oh, shit, this is fucking great.
Right.
You know, so I said, Jimmy, talk to me in a week. And a week went by, and the song came together during that time. I wrote it with, Richard Hymas, a songwriter partner that I use in the UK. Okay. And basically, Pillar of Salt it's from the Bible, and you know, from Sodom and Gomorrah. Mm-hmm. And she turns and she looks at the city, and she turns to a pillar of salt. So basically, we're using that theme with a person who has a relationship, and we're saying never look back, because we all have our pillars of salt. You know, we just kind of try to tie in a love song in a little bit more creative way.
Excellent. It's a very good song, man. I mean, it's really good.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites also, and I think I mentioned that on a few other interviews that is my favorite song.
Sure. Well, 2015, you know, you have the new record. So what is in store for House of Lords for the rest of the year and going forward?
Okay, well, we start a short U.S. tour for like 2 or 3 weeks, starting in August, and I'll have dates posted on my website and on my Facebook page, or Jimmy Bell's Facebook page. There's quite a few of those around. So,
sure.
And then from there, we leave for Europe on the 22nd. We play till the 8th, and then we go to Japan to do the Loud Park Festival in Tokyo.
Okay.
And then back home to Europe to complete the tour, which ends on the 19th, and Switzerland at Z7.
Excellent. So a full run behind this. Oh, yeah,
a long run.
Very good. All right, James. Well, as we said, the new album is called Indestructible. It is. It's available on Frontiers Records. What am I missing that maybe you want people to know, and what's the web address for people that don't know?
It's jameschristianmusic.com.
Okay.
That's my web address. And my Facebook is just James Christian. And there's also a House of Lords Facebook page, which is a fan page that has a lot of different stuff on there. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention we're going to be at the Whiskey A Go-Go. That's where we're going to finish our U.S. tour on September 11th.
Okay, great. Excellent.
So it'd be great to see some people out there.
Sure, definitely. Yeah. Well, okay, James. Well, the new album, like we said, is called Indestructible, and as a tradition on the show, we always let the artist pick a closing track from the record to give people a taste. So what should we end the record or the interview with?
Oh, you got to end it with 100 Miles an Hour. It's one of my other favorite songs.
All right. Well, let's check that one out right now. It is the House of Lords with 100 Miles an Hour right here on your Classic Metal Show.